ASMR Money Mentor. We'll get started in just a moment, but the trigger of the week, the box, the Carvac. We'll be making an appearance on Thursday where I show you how to put this thing together, but it was very difficult. It was actually easier to save $1 million in my lifetime than trying to put this together. I'm just saying. So yeah, that'll be on Thursday. And remember this. What did you think of those lotto cards yesterday? Can you believe I found those in the parking lot? Yeah. It really made me start thinking about how, as I mentioned yesterday, people tend to gamble to try to be wealthy by playing the lotto. I don't know. I never have played the lotto. I don't think ever. Have you? Cheers. Yeah. I've never played the lotto. Although sometimes I think maybe I should. I don't know. What do you think? Relax. Relax. And relax. Today is Wednesday, March 5th. Which, by the way, I'm not sure why I started saying the date in a lot of my episodes because they're pretty evergreen. My episodes, in fact, if you want to go back and learn about my financial independent journey, just go to my playlist. I can't encourage you more to rewatch or watch episodes number 1 through 62. I used to number my episodes. So it's in those episodes that I talk through my journey, and my journey never changes, right? Just like your journey never changes either. So I know that many of you are new to my channel, and thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you being here. And I hope you're watching. I know many of you are. Going back to those episodes to see, like, what was my thought process for every year that I was building a little bit more wealth. What are the things I thought about? What did I do? What were the steps to actually get there? And I also show you the money on the Friday episodes to give you an idea of how much wealth I accumulated each year and what my net worth was at the end of the year. Like, for example, 2005, 2007, 2009, 2012, when I was a guest on the Susie Orman show. I know I say that all the time, but I like to remember what my net worth was. In 2012, it was $200,000, because then it gives me a benchmark to say, wow, look how far I've come in 12 or 13 years. That's why I like to do the case studies that I'm doing, or the success stories that are coming up in later this month, April, and now I have one coming in May as well, where I will give you guys an idea of what some of my subscribers are doing as far as the money that they're saving and investing, just to give you an idea of what other people are doing out there. Because, as I mentioned a couple days ago, with social media, the norm. I represent more the norm of somebody that got to the end of his working career, quit his job. I'm, quiet living. I'm not out there telling everybody about the wealth that I've accumulated. And it is, however, more likely that you and others can get to where I got to with a lot of dedicated effort. It's more likely that you can do what I did than trying to do what you see on social media, at least in my opinion. So, with that, let me go ahead and segue to the content of today's episode. I have pieces of paper which help me keep on track, as you know. I write it all down. So, today we're going to be talking about how, personally, I believe that your savings rate is the most important thing in your financial success over time. So, yeah, let's break this down, and I'm going to give an example today of my own money that I was making 2 years ago in 2023. So grab a piece of paper, grab a pencil or a pen. I'm going to give you some numbers, and I'm going to show you guys how to get to your own true savings rate, if you have a savings rate right now. Many of you may not, and that's fine. But hopefully at the end of this episode, you're going to take this information, you're going to go apply it to your own situation so that you can see and have a real number to determine what your savings rate is. And again, if you're not saving, this might be a wake-up call for a lot of you. Like, for example, a lot of the comments I've been getting on my channel over the past several weeks I have really enjoyed. So keep those comments coming. Let me know how you're doing. There was one person that wrote a couple times, and she was so inspiring to me. She's very young. And I shared this on another episode too, that she knows that she's not doing super well, but she's willing to change. So when you have somebody that's willing to change, then they're more likely to make that change than if they don't admit it to anybody or even to themselves. So again, today we're talking about how savings rate, in my opinion, is most important above what mutual funds even you put your money into. I know, I can't believe I just said that. But what that means is, studies have shown that people that get to where I got to at the end of their working career were more focused again on getting as much as they can into their investments as possible, especially if they started late in life like I did. I knew that my success was going to be more about my money putting into those investments than the growth of those investments. Had I started at age 25, I could have put a lot less of my own money in. So I hope that motivates you to save now, while perhaps you're still young, so that then when you get a little bit older, you don't have to put as much of your money into those investments, because growth and compounding interest will be there for you. So, as you guys know, for the past 18 years or so, I was in what I call an accumulation phase. And you might be in an accumulation phase as well. That means you're still working, you're still living your life, you're having fun, you've got expenses, but you're in that phase where you are accumulating your wealth as opposed to taking the money off of your investments to live in retirement or whenever you want to quit your job. You guys know that my survival years, if you've watched my previous episodes, were when I was like 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, all the way to age 40. I consider my survival years. A survival year to me means I was doing great. I had income. I was able to pay all my expenses. had nothing left over to save and invest. I was just surviving. I wasn't thriving. Thriving means, okay, I've paid my expenses, but now I have enough to save. I have enough to invest. So I'm at that point where I'm then thriving, and you build on every thriving year going forward. So you're leaving the paycheck to paycheck mentality, and you're going into a thriving condition, and that's where you want to be, and that's where your savings rate definitely takes over. I also want to say in this episode that for me, as many of you know, I believe in low-cost index funds that ride the market of the S&P 500. That's just what I have done to build wealth. There's lots of different things you can do to build wealth, so on my channel, I share again my own experience, and that's what I did. If that resonates with you, then great. You could do the same as well. You would want to look for mutual funds that have what's called a low expense ratio. An expense ratio just means it's not actively managed. So actively managed funds means that they may be charging you an expense ratio of maybe 1% per year, which is very expensive, really, when you think about it. The expense ratio is built within the mutual fund itself. So you want to look for a low expense ratio of like 0.003 or something like that. Vanguard, Fidelity, again, all of those companies have index funds that you can put your money into. You dollar cost average into the market. That means you put the same amount of money in every month. If the market is down a little bit, you buy more shares, which is great. And you just continue to put money in every single month. You're averaging the dollars into the market. Sometimes you're buying them cheap, sometimes you're buying them when they're more expensive, but it all kind of averages out. So expense ratios, in my opinion, should be as low as possible, because studies also show that if you purchase mutual funds that have a high expense ratio, that really digs into then your profits over time. So again, I'm giving that little bit of a background about mutual funds because my opinion is that as long as you're putting money into low-cost mutual funds that ride the S&P 500, whether that's domestic and some international funds as well, you can talk to people at Vanguard, T. Rowe Price, Fidelity, Charles Schwab, and ask for their advice. They usually give you a little calculator or a survey to determine your risk tolerance. Then you put money into these investments. So with that being said, in my opinion, there's no fund that is truly greater than another. They're all good. You just want to find one that's like a total stock market, etc. Okay, enough about that. So once you determine what funds to put the money into, then again, your success or your way to financial success is more determined by how much of your money you put into those funds. So you might be wondering, well, how do I calculate my savings rate? As I said at the beginning of this episode, many of you might be saving right now and investing, but you might not really have a good understanding of how much you're actually contributing from a percent and a dollar amount per perspective. So I would like to give you an example now of what my savings rate was 2 years ago. So in 2023, and this is the part where you might want to write some of this down, I'm going to show you how to map your money so that you can determine, again, what your savings rate is. So in 2023, I was making a total income of $120,000. Now, how do you determine what your total income is? I use like my salary, my matches on my 401k if you have a 401k, and any other income that you may have. So in 2023, I had a cell phone reimbursement from my company, or a stipend, I guess it's called. So I included that as well. So anything, bonuses, your salary, company matches. So for me, that was 120, because I'm going to back out the matches. You'll see that in a little while. So you want to get the top number of your income. So don't look at your paycheck. Look at the gross number, right? The gross number before taxes are taken out and before anything that's contributed to your 401k. So for me, it was $120,000. Well, the first thing I do is I take out the total taxes. The way you can do this is go to your pay stub, take a look at it, multiply it by how many payments you get, or how many times you're paid per year, to determine the total dollar amount of taxes. For me, it was $26,000. Now, also wrapped in that $26,000 number is also the dollars that they take for like Medicare and things like that. So look at your pay stub and determine what you need to take away in a lump sum for taxes and any types of pre-tax numbers that go into things like, again, medical, any other withholdings that they have on your pay stub as well. So for me in 2023, it was $26,000. So what does that leave left over? $94,000. That is the net, or the total starting point to get to your savings rate. So write down on a piece of paper the $94,000. Then you take your money into 3 different buckets, okay? You take a look at fun and other, true expenses, and then what is left over as what I like to call open to buy. So really it should be expenses, fun and other, and open to buy. So for me in 2023, I'll start with fun and other. I gave myself $7,500 as fun and other. Remember from my Build a Budget episodes, you just put that on a spreadsheet and then you start living your life and then you start deducting. So I gave myself $7,500 for fun and other. That represents 8% of the $94,000. Are you following me? You just divide that number to find out, to get to the 8%. So hold on, let me see if I can show you real quick. I should have gotten my calculator out. Hold on. Where is, oh wait, it's over here. I guess I did get it out. The way that I do it is, let me see, I'll do it first and then show you. Okay, no, that wasn't right. Yeah, that's right. Okay. All right, this is what you do. On your calculator, you start with the category $7,500, right? $7,500. Then you divide it, divided by your starting point that I mentioned a minute ago, $94,000, equals 0.079. Let's just round up, which is 8%. Okay, so that's the first one. So, of the money I made in 2023, 8% goes to fun and other. Most people have a much larger number for fun and other. Like you, maybe you have a lot more for fun and other. That means you're spending a lot on vacations, etc. And so 8%, in my opinion, is very low. I think you would want to keep that hopefully below 10% in order to save as much as you possibly can. Now, the next category category of those three, remember, was true expenses. Let me just ramble a little bit and tell you what my expenses were in 2023. Here they go. Here they are. Food, gas for my car, my electric bill, my cell phone bill, my internet bill, my property taxes, because I paid off my condo in 2019, but I still have, of course, property taxes. My association fee for my condo here, what I pay per month for my association fee, auto insurance, and I have 2 insurance policies on the condo, one flood and one homeowner's insurance. So I like to call that true expenses. That number for me in 2023 was $19,000. So how do we get to the percent? Well, we take our net income, remember? So what we're going to do, we're going to take the number first, 19,000. 19,000, remember, divided by 94,000. 20%. A little bit over, but 20%. So now we've just calculated 28% of the 94,000, which is the 19,000 plus the 7,500. I will also say that 20% for your expenses is also very, very low. One thing you have to remember as I'm rattling off these numbers is that this is something that I've been concentrating on since 2005. So 2006, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. All of those years, my number one goal was to keep my expenses down and to get my income up. So this did not happen overnight, and it's not going to happen overnight for you either. If you're watching this episode right now and you're thinking, oh, I want to do something like that, I want to make sure that my fun and other is really low, my expenses are really low, it may be that you have to sit back, look at all of your expenses, and start figuring out what maybe you can cut, if possible, so that you can get these numbers down. Now, the third bucket, remember, I called what? Open to buy. Open to buy. Open to buy. Open to buy. Or OTB. I've got fun and other calculated. My expenses are calculated. So what would be left over? Well, that number is 68,000. 68,000. Now before I calculate the percent, let me just share with you what that 68,000 consists of, okay? Because you have to think holistically with everything you've got going on. Maybe you've got money going into your 401k, either as pre or post-tax. Maybe you've got your emergency fund up. Maybe you're putting some into a Roth. Maybe you're putting some into a taxable account. Maybe you're putting some into a health savings account, etc. But this is the total number. I mean, would you not agree that if you've got your fun and other, and if you meet the 7,500 and you meet the 19,000, you will have at the end of the year the 68,000 if you're making 120, and you take away your taxes of 26, and if you had 94,000 left over. You know, remember last week I was saying the median household income is what, 80,000, something like that. So even if you've got one salary or two salaries, this is a very doable thing. Many of you are making 80, 90, 100,000, maybe 70,000, etc. So it is a very possible thing that can happen for you. So what does that 68,000 consist of? It is, in 2023, I was putting 6% into my 401k. That represented $6,700. $47.50. So that's included in this number. I was putting $7,500 into my Roth IRA because, just Google it. In a Roth IRA, if you're over 50 in 2023, I think the total was $7,500, so I was trying to max it out. If you're under 50, it would be a lower number because they have what's called catch-up contributions once you get to a certain age. And I think, with a Roth, I think it was for 50 and above. I contributed $4,080 of my money into my health savings account. The match on that was $770. $44,000 was then being filtered into what I call my short-term reserves, which was my savings account, some CDs, or I-bonds. So I-bonds were popular a little while back. I'm not so sure they're popular now, but think of short-term reserves again as anything that you put your money into, like a savings account, a CD, those types of vehicles, not in the stock market, but is in what is called short-term reserves. It could be that it's invested later, but for 2023, that is what I had. So if you add up those numbers, $6,700 plus $4,750 plus $7,500 plus $4,080 plus $770 plus $44,000 is roughly that $68,000 number that I gave you just a moment ago. Okay, so now, how do you get to your savings rate for what I just rambled about, my open to buy bucket? You take $94,000 divided by $68,000. Did I do that right? Sorry, let me try one more time. No, I did it wrong. You start with, 68,000 divided by 94,000. 72. So it says 0.723. So what you do, the 3, if it was 5 or above, I would round up, but I'm going to round down. So 72. My savings rate, my savings rate for 2023 was 72%. Now if you take all percents, what do you get? 72 for saving and investing, right? That's the open to buy for saving and investing, plus 20% for expenses, plus 8 for fun and other gives you 100%. So that's what you're balancing to. Now I know the dollar amounts and I know the percents for the $94,000. So I think, again, just to wrap up today's episode, for my journey to financial independence, it was true that I got to where I wanted to be, the 1.7 million, in the amount of time that I had, because I was putting more of my money. That's nearly $70,000 just in 2023 alone that I was putting into my investments. I think a while back I did an analysis of the 1.7 net worth that I have, and I think I determined at one point that nearly half of that was my money and half of it was growth. But do you remember when I talked about the episode last week, Aaron Talks Money? If you haven't seen it, you can go back and watch it. And I talked about how if that person started really young and you had a 40-year time frame as opposed to my 18 or 20-year time frame, then you could be putting in about, $200,000 as opposed to, almost $800,000 or whatever it is in my case, because again, because I started so late at 40, I was broke at 40, I had to put so much more of my money into my investments. So the takeaway for this episode really is for you guys to look at these and go back to your own salary, your income and say, I think I'm spending this amount on my expenses, just to get a little benchmark. Then what am I spending on fun and other? And what should be left over then is what you want to concentrate on. So if you're one of those people right now that's watching this episode and you've got more going into fun and other, if you're a normal person like many people and you have more money going to fun and other, and that percentage is more like 70%, then you'll really want to think through how you can bring that number down so that you can get your savings investing number up. So that's what I'd like to leave with you guys with today. If you like content like this, please give me a thumbs up. Consider